on television, sports, and lifestyle. We are back this Sunday morning. We once again welcome in Colin from Undrafted, Uncensored. Once again, second week in a row, he's been substituting in. Colin, how are you this morning?
I guess I did good enough last week that, you got to give the people what they want every once in a while.
Right. It was put to a vote, by the way. So
okay.
Just kidding. So yeah, welcome back.
Super secret vote.
Super secret vote. We did it on Twitch, so that's maybe why you didn't see it.
And that was definitely why I didn't see it.
As the only other social media platform I could think of, because we used to do this on Twitch. So welcome in this morning, as we got a lot to get to. Another wild weekend in college football, another wild day up in Boulder. Almost before the almost comeback, the 20 straight unanswered points by the Buffs, Colin, it was almost how many celebrities can you spot was getting more exciting than the actual game until the very end there, where CU tried to make an attempt to come back. And also we'll get into the other top 25 games that went on yesterday. And also we will dive into week 4 slate of the NFL. We already got, is it the Toy Story game? Is that what they're calling it in London?
I don't know if they're calling it that in London, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people here excited about it. It's I haven't had a chance to tune in and see. All I know is that, Calvin Ridley already got a touchdown. So not only is one of my parlays already starting off correctly, but three out of my 5 fantasy teams, I believe I have Ridley on, is starting off right. So we're in good shape.
Yeah, so the Jaguars lead right now 7-0 over the Atlanta Falcons with just over 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. So if you've missed that, I think that game is only on, I want to say, NFL Plus.
I believe it's ESPN
Plus. Is
that
it?
Plus?
Okay.
Yeah, and Disney Plus.
Well, maybe that's
for the Toy Story.
Toy Story game, which last year they did a lot of those Nickelodeon games, and you could watch, and they would get slimed and all that goodness. So, and then also today is the final day in Major League Baseball. Colin, you missed. We were just talking before the show. You missed the Rockies 100 lost by a few games.
Yeah, it was a few days. I missed it. I actually thought about going on Monday night after they won the first game of the doubleheader against the Dodgers. There was a part of me that was like, I should go and do Tuesday night. Tuesday. And we recorded an Undrafted show on Tuesday that came out on Wednesday. So it's just like, ooh, I could skip this and go and watch it. And it was just, I was a part of a lot of those losses, mostly on the road, but at home, it didn't feel right, but that's okay, because I saw them lose whatever it was, 104 last night.
There you go. By the way, if you go to ESPN's Facebook page, they're showing little highlights of the game, and it is the Toy Story game. They're on a little miniature field, and it looks like it's in Andy's room.
Yeah, it's in Andy's room
from Toy Story. So that's pretty neat, I guess, if you're down for snakes in your boots. I don't know.
I don't like snakes. I'm good.
All right, there you go. Well, maybe we'll see a lot of people falling with style in this one. I'm throwing a lot of Toy Story puns out there, Colin. You're gonna have to catch up.
Those are probably about 20 years too old for me.
I mean, Toy Story 5 is about to come out, so you.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I think after the strike, it's going into production.
Okay.
So
I'll get in there. I've seen them. I know Andy's room. I know snakes. I know to infinity and beyond. There's some things I do know, but I don't.
Falling with style.
No.
Oh, he says. Somebody says, Buzz, you're flying. And he says, no, I'm falling, because he can't fly because he's a toy. And so Woody's like, no, you're falling with style. And then
I do. Okay. Yes, I do remember that, because I think I've used lines very similar to that after I saw that.
There you go. All right. as you can tell by my attire, I'm just ready for basketball and hockey to start. So that's the reason for my shirt and my hat. And it's starting. Hockey is already in preseason, 15 days away from, at least here in Denver, for the Colorado Avalanche opener. And then we are about 25 days away from the Nuggets opener as they welcome in the Los Angeles Lakers. It is championship ring night. It is banner night. And couldn't go against a better opponent in the Los Angeles Lakers, who they swept in the Western Conference Finals last season. But we have to wait a couple weeks to really dive into hockey and basketball, as it was another wild weekend, Colin.
Hey, real quick on that. Sorry.
Yes.
I think there would be one better opponent for the Nuggets to face, though, in this opening game. It would be the Clippers, just so they could get their rings in front of Bones Highland.
Does he get one, though? Is he getting one?
I don't. So I know there was the talk about. Oh man, who am I blanking on right now? Who went down to Orlando? One of the guys had a conversation with some of the players afterwards, and they said, "Yeah, you're getting a ring after you're getting a ring." But I think it's kind of a players and coaches decision, and even management decision. And if I had to put my money on it, I don't think Bones is getting one, because of the way that he left the team. If it's playing time and that you played, then yeah, or that you were on the team at any point, sure, then you get one.
I know,
but
he made it to the trade, so he played half the season, right? He made it to the trade deadline, but
yeah.
Again, he was disgruntled and complaining and whatever. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I just think it would be great, because him not letting Murray get his dues at the end. That's why I say the Clippers would be the only one that would be better, just to give everybody their rings in front of him, especially if he wasn't getting one.
And not only the Clippers, with Bones Highland, but also DeAndre Jordan getting his ring in front of his old team. How about that?
There you go. The team that couldn't get it with Lob City.
I know. Lob City had many opportunities to put one, and especially, and I forget where the positioning is for the Avs and Nuggets banners at the SAC, but when they do the national anthem, everyone's going to be looking up at it. Depending on, I think the Avs are close to the American flag, if I'm not mistaken, so maybe they won't see the Nuggets banner. But either way, they'll be looking up there and seeing it. Many ways for you to get involved, by the way, all on socials and stuff like that, like the E5280 Sport Facebook page, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle, or Instagram at Elevation 5280 Radio. And you can follow me if you'd like at Sports Junkie 25. I don't post anything. You can follow Colin at Colin Zinker, and you can follow all of us on X, gonna give it to you, at 5280 Sports Radio, at Michael Spillin, at Colin Zinker, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Same thing as the formerly Twitter X at 5280 Sports Radio. You can leave a comment on this video as well, or text us at 720-375-2341, and also go give Colin's main squeeze, undrafted, uncensored, a follow as well. And by the way, the new episode is up on our site. Go to e5280sports.com for all of that information as well, and on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. So it was a busy day, Colin, in NCAA football yesterday. We'll get to USC and CU here in a bit. We saw Oregon State, number 19, kind of an upset over number 10 Utah, 21-7. Penn State takes down Northwestern, 41-13. One of the ones that I was interested in, Colin, this weekend was LSU Ole Miss, and Ole Miss with a big upset as they were ranked number 20, 55-49. That one was just crazy shootout, just all over the place. And I guess you could say Alabama got back on the right foot as they blow out Mississippi State 40-17. Oregon continues their winning ways, 42-6 over Stanford. Oklahoma gets a win over Iowa State, 50-20. Notre Dame over Duke. That one was a good one. 21-14. Tennessee takes care of South Carolina, 41-20. Washington on the I don't want to say up and come up, because they've been good here for a little bit, but 31-24 over Arizona. And then Fresno State, who is number 25, takes care of Nevada 27-9. And of course, here locally, we saw CU with a furious rally at the end, 20 unanswered points, but they fall 48-41. And the question is going to come up here, and even Prime, Deion Sanders touched on it, calling in the press conference, saying If you don't see what's coming here, then you're just straight up haters. Again, a lot of people say there's no moral victory in sports. A lot of people say a loss is a loss, but I mean, this was obviously better than the Oregon game last week, and USC is questionably a better team than Oregon. But is Oregon better? I mean, I don't know. It looks like it based on the scores, but what do you make of this situation now for CU against USC?
I mean, there's a lot of good. The defense obviously still needs to get looked at. They made some big plays in the second half when they needed to, but they let Caleb Williams really do whatever he wanted to in the first half, and that was kind of disheartening. Kind of figured it would be a shootout, but with that being said, these are, I mean, young men, and I kind of felt as though this was the game that they were getting ready for and looking forward to, especially Shadur. And so I don't want to say they took Oregon a little bit lightly, but I feel like they took Oregon a little bit more lightly because they were focused on beating USC at home and Shadur, with the head-to-head matchup with Caleb Williams. And it was a learning experience for these guys. So yeah, if you don't see what's coming with this team and the opportunities that they have going forward, you're missing out because this is some really fun football to watch. And if they could, I don't want to say Shiloh or Travis would have been the difference in this game, but that could have been the difference in this game is one of those two guys. Just because, I mean, really it being a touchdown game and people have pointed to the clock management at the end. Yeah, it probably wasn't as fast and there was the running plays were interesting. But even with that, they were in it until the end. And they were going to need to get an onside kick regardless. So there really isn't too much to point at besides a few little things. And the little things are what can make you a top 25 team and outside of the top 25 where they currently sit. But this could even move them back in as good as they played against USC.
Right. And again, I guess we'll stamp this as a moral victory just because they did play so much better. Obviously, as you mentioned, the defense is still really suspect. And last week giving up 42 points to Oregon, they only gave up 7 points in the second half. I mean, I don't know if you looked at that. And remember, you brought up last week too, Colin, and that was this team overlooking Oregon to get to this USC game, and especially, as you mentioned, Shadur overlooking Oregon to get a face-up with Caleb Williams. And the memes that are already out on the internet, Colin, is funny. It has that one chick looking. She looks at the screen and then she does the curious face on the other side, and I'll try to pull it up here. And it's CU fans watching Caleb Williams is the disgusted face, but then the other side is Bronco Williams watching Caleb Williams, and it's like, yeah. So maybe we should tank for him, but I mean, it was a shootout, especially towards the end. Shadur did all he could to will his team, and it looked like a little bit of a cool exchange after the game between Shadur and Caleb Williams. Don't know if you saw that, but they exchanged pleasantries. It didn't seem like USC was crap talking before this one or after this one, like Oregon did. Doing the Shadur watch thing. It seemed to be pretty good sportsmanship after this one.
There was a lot of radio silence this week on both sides of the ball. I think that USC kind of knew how to handle it, and CU and Prime probably said, all right, we've had enough fun. We know where we sit. We got to go prove it on the field. We're not going to put this, we're not going to prove anything in paper. But even true to his word, he's still pumped up his guys the whole time throughout the week. And when he was talking, he said we would learn and we would get better and wait for this week.
Yeah, that's all really you can do is just, I do like Deion's, I guess, composure in these press conferences after the game. He's still clapping back at some haters, which is fine, I guess. He doesn't really start the crap talking. He just kind of, as we mentioned last week, responds to it. So, yeah, I mean, again, there's still we kind of dubbed this as a loss as we went through their schedule last week anyway. But there's still 2 or 3 winnable games on the schedule. You've already done better than last season, which I guess, every year you try to improve and build on what you did the year before. Obviously, that's happening, and that's basically already happened, with 3 wins as opposed to 1 win last year. And I think we said, 6 wins, I should say, get you
6.
to a bowl game.
Yeah, 6 should get you to a bowl game. And even with that, the Buffs were 21.5-point underdogs in back-to-back weeks against, top 20 teams. This one being a top 10. And when you finally see they didn't cover it against Oregon, but to be able to do that against a higher ranked team in USC at home, it shows that they are growing, and they're the things that, like I said, are to come are pretty. It's an exciting opportunity for football to be back in college, or college football to be back in Colorado.
Yeah, and just kind of what we said, Jody said on the comments here, and USC's defense is trash, which could be true, especially there in the second half. And then, like you kind of mentioned, CU missing both Travis Hunter and Shiloh Sanders on defense. Shiloh Sanders, which was it kind of flew under the radar, his little injury, but then they kind of brought it up on the broadcast even more. He was, what was it? Oh my God, I forgot. They found he had blood or something like that.
Yeah.
It was his, what was it? Oh my God.
Blood in his urine.
Yeah. I forgot what causes that, but yeah, he had to go get a quick procedure or something like that. So he's gonna, they said he should be good for next week. Travis Hunter is questionable for next week. So,
I mean, that's actually happened to me like 2 or 3 times in my life. And usually it was when I remember one time in particular, it was when I was playing basketball in middle school, and someone went up for a layup and landed on me awkwardly and just smashed me into the ground. But it's like your kidneys getting messed up.
Kidneys, yeah.
And I remember, as a middle school kid, just freaking the crap out because it was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, what is going on? This should not be red. And, for football guys, I'm sure it happens more often for those who play competitively at that level. But still, when it gets that serious, it's a scary moment because you don't know what's going on inside. You can't control it. You can't see it. It's not like a cut or a bruise or something like that. It's, okay, something's happening inside my body, but there's no way to tell if it's getting better or not.
Right. Unless blood has stopped coming out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess your body's still trying to tell you something's wrong when you go to the bathroom at least. So yeah, there's a couple more winnable games on this one. Next week looks promising, going up against a 1-4 Arizona State. The week after that, a 1-4 Stanford. Week after that, 3-1 UCLA, and then maybe a tougher game, number 19 Oregon State. And then, the rest of these games, a winnable game against Arizona, and then they face a 4-0 Washington State and then a 4-1 Utah. So their last 2 games, okay, but again, 3 winnable games right there.
I was gonna say you had mentioned Utah earlier. Utah, lost 21-7 to Oregon State this last weekend, and not that they're a slouch, but they're kind of one of those teams that doesn't play up to the spotlight. So that game against CU could be highlighted, spotlighted, and they could shrink in it. That's kind of how I felt about Utah as far as their past history goes. When the spotlight shines onto the brightest, they seem to shrink. So that's another possible winnable game against, depending on that time, but currently a top 25 team.
Yeah, so a couple more winnable games on the schedule for the Golden Buffaloes. So there is that. Was there a game on this college football docket that, obviously we talk about parlays and stuff like that all the time. Did you have any other games that you were excited to see?
No, I typically stay away from a lot of college football just because I don't follow the rest of it. There's so much going on as closely. I before we move on to this, I do want to say the Omarion Miller, the freshman wide receiver that came out in the second half, blew the doors off of
Did you
USC.
say his name right? Because Shador will correct you if you say.
I mean, cool dude, Shadur, come on the show, correct me. I'm happy to have you do that. I
Did you see that, by
promise.
the way? Did you see that, by the way?
No, I did not.
Somebody said Omarion or Marion, whatever, and Shador literally interrupted the dude and corrected how you say his name.
The young Miller wide receiver. I'm pretty sure I got that part right. He blew up. He had a hell of a second half. That was awesome to see. The games that I kind of saw or want to watch. You mentioned it earlier. Ole Miss. Ole Miss has played tough all season long, and them getting a win over LSU was kind of I don't want to say predictable, but it was one of those games that you thought could easily happen. Just because they played, I want to say it was Alabama tough. It was like a one-score game against Alabama also. The other game over the weekend, loved to see Nebraska getting just smoked by Michigan. And Georgia, no, not Georgia, excuse me, Notre Dame and Duke. I know Jody just talked about Notre Dame in here, but Duke is one of those teams. I had a broadcast of one of their games earlier this year, and I didn't expect them to be. I mean, they're not a football school; they're a basketball program. But for them to be competitive in these games is cool to see. It's cool to see. I mean, I'm not a Duke fan at all. I was more of a North Carolina fan, but it's nice to see these schools have multiple sports that are good. And it's kind of my hope for CU and their athletics is that it's not just football, but some of these things can translate over to basketball. Maybe they'll get a baseball program back. But to the other sports that are within the school. So Duke has kind of a surprise team. I like to see them being competitive.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it last week. Maybe we didn't. It's just kind of weird seeing Duke,
We did.
talked about in football when obviously a predominant basketball program. So that was cool to see, and that was a very good game, by the way, yesterday. So before we move on to pro football, I want to get your thoughts, and I've totally, honestly forgot about this until I just saw the introduction kind of rally for Damian Lillard in Milwaukee. Kind of a crazy trade that went down this past week, Colin, as it was a 3-team trade between Phoenix, Milwaukee, and Portland. As Milwaukee gets Dame Lillard, Drew Holiday goes to Portland. They're looking to flip him already. I'm obviously a part of a few Nuggets groups on social media. They want Drew Holiday to come to Denver to replace Bruce Brown. I don't think that's going to happen because Drew Holiday makes a ton of money. Unless Milwaukee and or Portland's picking up the bill, sure, why not? But I don't think he would want to come off the bench, but maybe for a defending championship team, I don't know. But anyway, and then Phoenix sends DeAndre Ayton, who we saw or didn't see, depending on the way you look at DeAndre Ayton's game. He went to Portland, and then our old pal Yusuf Nurkic goes to Phoenix. Kind of a nice pickup for Phoenix. Is he going to replace DeAndre Ayton at the center position? Nurkic has a long history of injuries as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. But anyway, the main part of this trade was Dame Lillard basically screwing the Miami Heat and going to Milwaukee. He teams up with Giannis. Pretty good 1-2 punch though for the Bucks now.
Yeah, the Bucks are scary. I mean, I'm glad that Drew Holiday is out of there because he always gave defensive fits. It felt like to the Nuggets, but also you have to put them at the top of the contenders out east. Sure, you got to expect Miami to kind of do the same thing. See what happens. See what happens with the Celtics, but. I don't know if Philly's going to be anything. They just seem like they're dumpster fire, ready to blow. I mean, everything's ready to blow up there. But Milwaukee, I'm glad we don't have to face the Nuggets. Wouldn't have to face them till the finals because Dame always seems to have a game or 2 or 3 against the Nuggets in the playoffs. So I'm glad we don't have to face Dame Trailblazers anymore in the playoffs. Does seem like a big win, even though they lose some key pieces. Yeah, and you did say Phoenix is interesting. I just don't know what is going on in Phoenix right now. I can't put it together. I think they're trying to figure it out too, because they have new ownership. You got to remember that this is new ownership in Phoenix. They were brought in like 3/4 of the way through the season, or right before the trade deadline last season.
Right, and it was the guy who Jokic throw punched last year in the playoffs. So maybe he's just a little pissed off. So he got brought in Nurkic, who obviously the Nuggets chose Jokic over Nurkic. Remember that. I guess there wasn't room for both of them. They both play center. Man, remember back in the days when Joker and Jamal Murray were coming off the bench, as it was I want to say Jameer Nelson and Nurkic were the starters.
Was it like Jameer, and then we had the French guy or whatever who we sent over to Orlando also.
Evan Fournier.
Yeah, Fournier. Yeah, I think that those were right before, but they were the backups.
Yeah, crazy to think that they were coming off the bench for this Nuggets team. So that's crazy. But yeah, that trade went down. Dame goes to the Eastern Conference as, again, Milwaukee. We'll see what they do. Obviously, if you have Giannis, a lot of people saying too, like Giannis' stats are going to go down. I doubt he cares. He almost has, I don't want to say a Jokic mindset, but he kind of does. He probably doesn't care about his stats as long as they win.
Yeah, I view Giannis and Jokic kind of the same mold, much unlike Joel Embiid. These guys want to win. They want to stay home. They want to bring championships there. And Giannis is a little bit more outspoken than Jokic, but their games, the way they approach it, are similar.
Yeah, so we will see what happens. The Eastern Conference got a little bit better, which we'll see. Miami Heat, meanwhile, trying to pick up the pieces as they do not win the Dame Lillard trade. And I read, too, that the Milwaukee Bucks were about to give Giannis a pretty hefty extension before the trade. And I also read that Milwaukee traded Jrue Holiday, and I guess Jrue Holiday and Giannis were close. And I read that they did not consult Giannis before Jrue Holiday, which, again, if you're ownership, I mean, do you really need to include your players as part of acquisitions and trades and departures and stuff like that? I don't know. I know Giannis is a big part of what they do, and obviously you want things to mesh with Giannis, but I don't know. Maybe the chemistry between Dame and Giannis is going to be off to start, like we've seen in Phoenix between the chemistry of their big two, well, now three. Bradley Beal just adds a whole different element to that, but maybe the chemistry is going to be off for Dame and Giannis.
Well, and even when you say that too, we talked about Jrue possibly being bought out or shipped out. There's a possibility that he ends up back in Milwaukee. I mean, how many times have we seen guys traded to a team just to get bought out to, I mean, they don't always go back, but sometimes they do go back to their original team anyways, after their buyout, and just re-sign at a lower deal. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, because if Jrue and Giannis really do have that connection that's being reported, then he might want to just go back and understand his role there rather than being a bench guy in Denver. He might rather be a bench guy back in Milwaukee. Yeah, so it's a possibility.
I was just about to say, sorry, it depends on if he wants to come off the bench.
Yeah, and if he wants to play for a champion, the more recent champion, I should say.
Yeah, and Milwaukee's only 2 years removed, so
yeah, it wasn't long ago.
So there you go. I totally forgot that they beat Phoenix in those finals, to be honest with you.
Oh no, that was a fun one, because the brother got in. It was like the Antetokounmpo's on the court.
I remember that, but for some reason I don't remember Phoenix in that finals.
And Chris Paul breaking down. It was all the things that you expect from the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs.
Sure, just choking pretty much.
Yeah,
but we'll see what happens this year. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that trade. By the way, going back to that meme I was talking about, it might be a weird screenshot, but there it is, Colin. CU fans watching Caleb Williams, Bronco fans watching Caleb Williams. So there it is.
It should say Caleb and Shadur, because right now, I mean, the Broncos, I know we're going to move into the talk, but the Broncos might have a choice between the two.
That would be, and the team they're playing will have a choice too this week. So as we terribly transition into pro football, as we dive into the slate of games, by the way, there is a game going on right now. The Jaguars have taken a 10-0 lead in the Toy Story game in Andy's room. Do you think they have do you think Andy's name is at the bottom of all their cleats?
It might be scribbled in brown marker, right? On the bottom, just so they don't lose it, just like Woody.
Yeah, could be.
See, I got that one.
Yeah, you got that one. But remember, Buzz got like a fresh Sharpie on the bottom of his, and Andy spelled his name right. Because remember, on the bottom of Woody's boot was a backwards N. So yes, all in the details, I guess.
I'm wondering. What I'd really like to see is the cleats from this game. Now that you mention them, I'm wondering if there's some special like Toy Story cleats,
like themed. Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be cool. And if someone wearing like a boot type cleat,
Buzz Lightyear, yeah,
they better say like there's a snake in my boots somewhere.
A snake in my boots
somewhere, or somebody's clogged the water hole. One of those.
No, that would be the Lamar Jackson if he was playing in London.
There you go. All right. So we're going to go through our slate of games, make our picks. By the way, I don't know if you kept track of your picks last week. I think I only got like 3 right. So they're pretty terrible.
I know I nailed it. I mean, I think I did pretty well. I told y'all, watch out for that Arizona team in the Cowboys game. I didn't think it was going to be like that, but I told you, I was like, I did not like that at all. I changed my Survivor pick because of it.
And Houston getting the win last week as well. I don't know. I
know I called that against the spread. Once again, I said Jacksonville I thought would win, but I was like, don't take the points in that game.
Yeah, they blew out Jacksonville 37-17 last week. So that was, I don't know if shocking or surprising, but that was a bit of an eye-opener right there. So kicking it off with the AFC East matchup, Colin, the 3-0 Dolphins head into the 2-1 Buffalo Bills. It should be a good one. We just saw Miami hang a 70 burger against Denver last week. I don't know if they can do that. By the way, going back to that game, if I was Mike McDaniel, by the way, kick the field goal. Who cares?
Yeah, go.
Yeah,
like just do it. Because then you're also part of Broncos history.
Yeah.
I mean, you're part of NFL history, and it ties you to the Broncos forever, just like you when you were a ball boy.
I was just about to say, and he's already tied to them because he was a ball boy in the Mike Shanahan era. He was not interviewed when they hired Nathaniel Hackett last year, which again, that's number one reason why I would have kicked the field goal. Be like, all right, here's your interview, and there you go, record 73 points in a game.
Yeah, take this interview.
Right. Yeah, interview me about that one, by the way. And I was talking to a lot of people about that, Colin, why he did not kick the field goal. Maybe another opportunity will open up for him to be a candidate for a Broncos future. Let's face it, it seems like they have these coaching vacancies in Denver every 2 to 3 years anyway. But he's got a good thing going in Miami. But people are like, well, if he breaks the record and kicks that field goal against Denver, they won't ever given him an interview. But maybe they will because he just hung 73 on you. So they maybe want that on your sideline. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be respect that you get that interview. But yeah, it feels like he's got a good thing in Miami going, and they're letting him put together a good squad.
It was funny. I was watching the game with my dad, and he was like, "Who's that nerd?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the head coach. He just put $70 points up on the Broncos." So I'll take that nerd any day. By the way, he seems like a cool guy, by the way. Because, I don't know if you heard the post-game press conference. He was like, they're talking about Pat Surtain, the son. And he was like, Pat Surtain, he's only given up so many catches, so many touchdowns, whatever, in his young career. And then McDaniel just kind of looked at him and was like, the dad or the son? It was It was pretty cool exchange. So, and I don't know if you
Uh,
saw, by the way, Pat Surtain's dad saying he's pretty upset with Denver right now. So, kind of embarrassing to
yeah,
be part of that squad as it stands
I
right
did see
now.
that.
Yeah. So we will see. I don't think
Feels like a little Odell Beckham drama going on right now in Denver.
yeah.
Do we see Patrick Surtain traded to a Super Bowl contender like
That would
Odell
be
Beckham was?
that would be interesting if somehow he ends up on Miami. Speaking of Odell, we'll
Oh,
get to the Ravens in a minute, but I mean, play a game, Odell. Anyway, the 3-0 Dolphins face off against the 2-1 Buffalo Bills. Bills are a 2.5-point favorite at home. Who you got in this one?
I have the Bills, and I will give you a fun stat. I don't know if we talked about this, but the Bills, after week 1, they faced every Broncos opponent that the Broncos faced the week prior. So 3 weeks straight, they faced the Broncos' previous opponent: Vegas, Commanders, and now Miami. And in each of those games, they have beaten them by 14 or more points. They beat Vegas by 14. They blew out the Commanders, and I expect Buffalo is on track this week, and they get a big win over Miami. This I don't think it's going to be a 14-point win, but I do expect it to be like a 7 to 10-point win for Buffalo. I think they've kind of found their stride to start this season. They after their first game loss, that was just dumbfounding. I think they just looked in the mirror and were like, all right, it's go time.
I'm going to go on the flip side of the coin. I'm going to go with Miami on the road in this one. I just think that they're just on a hot streak, pun intended, if you want to take it, because they play in Miami. Speaking which, I don't know if they maybe they dysfunctioned the fans last week down on the sideline for the I don't know what it was, but it just seems like it seems like they were you could see like just sweat like seeping through the jerseys. That's how hot and humid it seemed to be last week. Again, no excuses, but I'm going to go with Miami on the road against Buffalo.
Yeah, it feels like it's a really tough game to pick. Miami beat Buffalo in Buffalo last year. And I just think that if the Bills want to prove that, that the Bills want to prove that they really are the contenders that they should be this year, they're going to have to win this game and win it outright. So I think they want to put their stamp on the AFC East right here.
There you go. So we differ on that one. Another division matchup in the AFC North as the 2-1 Ravens go into the 2-1 Browns. We made all of our Deshaun Watson jokes last week that there must be some good massage parlors in Cleveland. But Cleveland are a 1-point favorite at home in this one. And again, Odell is out. He is out in this game. Not sure how many fantasy implications that does, because he's only I think he's only played one game this season so far.
Yeah, he has like 4 catches.
Yeah,
or 3 catches or something. Nothing. I stayed away from him in all of my best ball drafts, honestly. I didn't believe that he was really coming back. And maybe it'll come back to bite me at the end of the season, but I didn't believe in it.
Yeah, it's kind of an underwhelming start to his Ravens career. And again, this may be a short-lived Ravens career based on not only his attitude, Colin, but his injury history as well. You know what? I'm going to shake it up here. Cleveland's a 1-point favorite at home. I'm going to go with the Browns at home against the division foes.
I can't. I know the Browns are at home. We can make another joke that Deshaun needs another massage because supposedly he has a bum shoulder. They are, and Amari Cooper's always good at home. But I also think that the Ravens defense, while both these defenses have been really good, the Ravens defense can get it done. Deshaun Watson has only looked good in one game, and that was. I don't even want to say the last week's game that he looked great. He looked efficient enough. There were moments where he was good, but I just believe in the Ravens more than the Browns right now. And yeah, Cleveland's at home, but I think Baltimore also has kind of this chip on their shoulder where the Browns are getting the talk, and it feels like their little brother is showing them up right now. So the Ravens are going to be the big brother, come in there and beat up on the Browns.
Speaking of chips on your shoulder, do you think Odell would be up for this game playing against one of his former teams?
Yeah, one of them.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe they could have went to the massage parlor together. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if him and Deshaun have that type of friendship, but Lamar was the one recruiting him.
Obviously, I'm just saying. Obviously, Odell is hurt, so he could maybe use a massage.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he definitely could get a recommendation.
At least, yeah. Maybe just say, "Hey, I'm going to this one. You go to that one." So maybe they just split it up. I don't know. Anyway, you're going with the Ravens on the road. So far, we differ on 2 different games, and then we dive into another AFC North opponent taking an AFC South opponent. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers heading in to the Houston Texans. I am just not a big believer in Kenny Pickett, Colin. I don't know what it is, but I can't get on the Kenny Pickett bandwagon. Again, I'm not here watching 17 Steelers games a year, but it just seems from what I've seen. Yeah, that makes sense. From what I've seen, Colin, it just I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's only his second year. Maybe he just hasn't meshed or settled in. I don't know. But against the Texans look good last week, as we mentioned, against Jacksonville. Again, I'm going to go with the home team here. I know Pittsburgh's a 3-point favorite, but I think the Texans get the win at home.
Yeah, this is tough. The Kenny Pickett stuff, I don't blame you. It's probably the small hands that scare me away from him. I don't believe in either of these teams right now. But the one thing I do believe in is Mike Tomlin. And after a big win in division last week for Houston, I can feel kind of a letdown coming. And this defense of Pittsburgh is too good. That's really what I hang it on, because the running game should be out in full force for the Steelers, whether it be Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren. That's really where this team is going to make their bread and butter. And so I'm going with Pittsburgh, even though I really don't like this game. I think this is going to be one of the uglier games of the week to watch, and probably just, hopefully just watch the highlights on YouTube afterwards, because I don't really want to spend time watching these teams go 3 and out back and forth.
Yeah, it might be one of those just ugly games. I forgot about his small hands, by the way. So good on you for bringing that up.
Oh, yeah. Guess what?
I was just about to say the Jaguars put another 7 on the board, 17-0, just over 4 minutes to go in the first half over the Atlanta Falcons.
I got other breaking news.
Yes.
We just mentioned this, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson is starting for the Browns against the Ravens.
Well, there you go.
Man, sorry you can't go back and change your pick, Michael.
That's fine. I'm still gonna go.
That's gonna make it interesting.
By the way, this will be Kareem Hunt's first game back as a former Cleveland Brown.
I thought he got some snaps last week.
Did he? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he got some snaps last week.
All right. Either way. So maybe
I gotta make a decision on who to drop in one fantasy league to pick up a defense. It's either Kareem Hunt or Zach Charbonnet.
I mean, Charbonnet sounds like a good dessert, so maybe you can go with that.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
got some time to make that choice, but yeah, breaking news right there.
I got a text from one of our usuals here on Sunday mornings. As Greeley Gary, by the way, has a fantasy question, probably more so for you because I've given terrible fantasy advice here in the past. Anyway, it says I have an RB wide receiver position that has Pierce from Houston in it right now, but I also have DeAndre Hopkins lurking on the bench. Pierce is slated to get projected 12 points. DeAndre Hopkins 13. Obviously, the Titans play Cincinnati, and the Houston we just talked about play Pittsburgh. Guys, who would you put in that position?
I don't trust Tennessee's offense and Hopkins, even though Cincinnati's kind of a sneaky good defense. They got 6 sacks last week. Uh, I'm guessing it's PPR when you say it's 13 points for DeAndre Hopkins. I think Pierce could find the end zone today against Pittsburgh because there's the opportunity to get a short field. We talked about how bad Kenny Pickett is. Yeah, I don't like either of these guys. I mean, honestly, I don't like either. But if I was having to choose, I would just take Pierce over Hopkins simply because I trust what's going on in Houston. They put 37 up last week, more so than I do in Tennessee.
So last week, one sec. Last week, Pierce had 14 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. It was, at least on ESPN leagues, he got 14 points in that game. Last week, DeAndre Hopkins has yet to find the end zone, by the way. His best week was week 1, 7 catches for 69 yards, 13 points. Last week only had 3 catches against the aforementioned Cleveland Browns. 3 catches, 48 yards, only good for 7 ESPN points.
Yeah, it's just hard to trust Tennessee. They're going to try and run the ball. And there's going to be pressure on Tannehill all day. So maybe, the thing you're hoping for is in a PPR game with DeAndre Hopkins that you get a lot of receptions.
Right. And even that is pretty low so far for him in his Tennessee tenure. So
yeah, it feels a lot more like it's a Chigo Conco type of game in Tennessee. They're tight end, and it's a Derrick Henry type of game. They don't want Burrow, and even though Burrow hasn't been Burrow, we'll get to the game, but we could go into the game right now too if we want.
Well, I was going to bring up I have a fantasy question for you, by the way, since I have again, I've struggled with this. Dak Prescott and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was out last week, concussion. He's clear to go against the Rams. He's going to get projected more points than Dak against New England. So what do you see in that one?
I like Anthony Richardson more than Dak. Dak usually comes back and plays well, but New England, their defense is just – they always find a way to stop, and I think they're going to focus on CeeDee Lamb this week, which is the smart thing to do. So I think they run the ball with Tony Pollard a lot, and Tony Pollard could catch a screen pass and go, which helps Dak. But Anthony Richardson's upside, especially against a banged up Rams defense, seems to, if he can stay healthy through a game, he'll be good. He's gotten hurt in both of his games, or at least missed some time in both games, and missed the whole second half in one of them. So right. I like Richardson there just against the Rams.
All right. Well, yeah, I already made the switch, so I just wanted to get some affirmation there. All right, we have the NFC battle between the Vikings and the Panthers. Just a quick injury update. Miles Sanders is questionable for this game, so keep that in your fantasy minds. Both these teams 0-3. Andy Dalton had to get the start last week for the Panthers, and we all know what the Red Rifle does when he has the ball in his hand. Also, but he had a decent game, 34. Had to throw 58 passes, Colin, even to try to get a chance in this one. 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Miles Sanders had an awesome game also last week, 41 carries. How about that? That's pretty good balanced offense, and they still lost 58 passes. And just Miles Sanders alone, Colin, had 41 carries.
And he caught the football out of the backfield, too.
There you go. Miles Sanders on the season, only 139 yards, 1 touchdown. Adam Thielen is doing his thing so far through a couple games with the Panthers, 2 touchdowns, 211 yards. Obviously, on the Viking side, you have a pretty good offense that just can't get it done in clutch time. Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, we all know their stories. I'm still going to go with the Vikings on the road. Something's got to give here, Colin. Both these teams 0-3, so somebody's got to walk away unless they somehow tie, which would be interesting. Minnesota is a 5-point favorite on the road.
Yeah, I like Minnesota too here. I do have Thielen scoring some touchdowns and some prop bets. It is a revenge game, so you always got to look for the revenge game. And I think Carolina would have a better chance if it was the Red Rifle back there slinging the rock to Adam Thielen. But the Miles Sanders questionable, the injury. He'll probably end up playing, but who knows if that's limited and you see some Chuba Hubbard. But yeah, Minnesota, they've just been – they had all the good luck last year, and now they can't stop fumbling at the one. It's like Melvin Gordon joined the Vikings, you know?
Yeah, crazy to think that. That's funny. Yeah, Miles Sanders questionable. Jonathan Mingo questionable as well, their wide receiver. Not really much on the Minnesota side on offense. More of their defenses are questionable. Garrett Bradbury, the Minnesota center, is questionable. So don't know how that affects your fantasy team. Might during the running game, but we both have Minnesota on the road. Another game to get into here. The Los Angeles Rams go into Indy. Rams 1-2 on the season, and Indianapolis 2-1 on the season. It'll be Matt Stafford. Gardner Minshew has already taken over the passing stats, but Anthony Richardson again will be back this week. Minshew has looked good in limited snaps. He got the start last week, obviously, but he is 46 of 69 on the season, 398 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers by Gardner Minshew.
And one Dan Orlovsky out of the end zone.
He did have that. Yeah, he did pull it down.
Technically not a turnover, but it's a turnover.
Yeah. Matt Stafford, I mean, he's looked better, but he still has he has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. Never a good thing. And Michael Pittman Jr. has only found the end zone one time so far this season. So it'll be an interesting one. Anthony Richardson, again, is back. This is a tough game for me, Colin. So Rams are only a 1-point favorite on the road. But how about this, Colin? I'm going to go with the Colts at home.
Oh man, we are on the same wavelength on this. After those first two, yeah, I like the Colts at home. The Rams traveling, they just you gotta kind of think they're just waiting for Cooper Kupp to come back as good as Puka Nacua and Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell have really been. It feels like their offense is waiting for that one more piece to come back, and Richardson just brings another dynamic to a game that is so tough to stop. So if he can stay healthy, my caveat to your fantasy thing, which I know you can't change it midway through a game if he gets hurt, but if Richardson stays healthy, he's just too tough to defend. And you mentioned Michael Pittman. Pittman much better with Richardson in there as far as like fantasy goes. Pittman will catch a lot of those footballs because he was targeted much more than a guy like Downs with Minshew. Minshew's good in moments, but you want a guy like Richardson in there to win you a game because he's just so good athletically.
Yeah, and Richardson, before he went out with the concussion, he had 2 rushing touchdowns before he left that game with injury. So he can get it done with his legs and his arm, although I'm sure the coaching staff would rather have him do it with his arm because obviously running the ball will get you hit and therefore get a concussion and miss a week. So they don't want that to happen. All right, moving on to another early game here. It has local ties to us, Colin, and that is the 0-3 Denver Broncos going into the 0-3 Chicago Bears. This might be a 3-0 final in overtime or something like that. Or I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 6-6 tie somehow. Both of these offenses are suspect. Obviously, Russell Wilson has been better this season. I don't know whose power rankings it was for quarterbacks, but Russ was number 13. Middle of the pack last year. Probably would have been a little lower than that. Denver, a 3-point favorite on the road. Again, this may be a 3-point game. Who knows? With both of these defenses are absolute trash at the moment. So, Justin Fields is getting a lot of heat in Chicago for some of the comments he made last week, kind of throwing the coaching staff under the bus, and then he goes out and absolutely does nothing last week. So,
yeah, until the game was over.
Yeah. And you know me, Colin, I'm a Broncos fan. I'm a Bears fan. So this one is interesting for me. I think that Denver's offense is just a tad bit better than Chicago's offense at the moment. And again, both of these defenses are just, I don't even know what you call it, the Red Sea, just parting for everybody. So I guess I'll just go with Denver on the road. I don't know.
Yeah, and this could be one of two ways. Like, I mean, it could be 3-0, but also this is one of the higher over-unders on the week because of how bad the defenses are. It's 45.5, or it was 45.5. This could be a 33-30 type of game too. But on my side, the Broncos have always struggled against rushing quarterbacks. I expect Justin Fields to rush the ball. I expect Roschon Johnson to have another day, and the battle for the number one pick goes to the Denver Broncos, which means that they are losing this game to the Chicago Bears. But in either way, I've taken the Bears plus 3.5 because the Broncos haven't shown any ability to blow out any opponent unless the opponent underestimates them like the Cowboys did a few years ago. I cannot pick this Broncos team to win a game because I don't think they're any better than the Bears right now, and the Bears are at home. So, also Chase Claypool, healthy scratch. What a waste of the number 32 draft pick.
Right. And I don't know if you saw his comments was asked after the loss last week. It said, is this offense using you to the best of your abilities? All he said was, quote, no. So there you go. Injury report. Justin Simmons, who missed last week, is questionable. Mike Purcell, who was questionable going into last week, is out for this week. Frank Clark, again, out. Josie Jewell, out. So there's pretty much three of your best defensive players are out of this game for the Denver Broncos. So maybe you saw that before I read this, Colin. That's why you're going with the Bears, and the rushing quarterback is Justin Fields. On the Bears side, Travis Horner, the running back is questionable. Eddie Jackson.
They have no quarterbacks.
Yeah, Eddie Jackson, who is arguably their best defensive player, is out. Jalen Johnson and Josh Blackwell, two of their cornerbacks, is out. Josh Blackwell, by the way, was put on IR the other day, so he is out for an extended period of time. So no defensive backfield for the Chicago Bears, and your biggest defensive backfield for the Denver Broncos to give somebody help over the top is Justin Simmons. We saw what the Miami Dolphins did last week without Justin Simmons, and it was absolute just wide openness. I don't know why you're playing zoned against Tyreek Hill, but that's what Vance Joseph likes to do apparently. So there is your injury report. No major injuries on offense for either team, besides you mentioned Chase Claypool. And again, he's only owned, and this may be the lowest I've ever seen Chase Claypool be owned in fantasy leagues. Only 22% of teams own him in fantasy.
No one should have him. He's not worth it. Like, drop him. Get anybody else.
I don't even know if you go DJ Moore at this point on the Bears offense. I don't know. So
I mean, yeah, the only reason you would want to go DJ Moore in this game, in my opinion, would be is if Justin Simmons is out, because you mentioned what happened in Miami. If DJ Moore is a great wide receiver, but if you don't have the over the top help, it's going to be tough for Surtain to stay with him. But I also, like I said, I think with the way that Fields can move in the pocket and his scrambling ability, that allows DJ Moore to get open. But I see the Bears. The Bears just saw the Dolphins rush for 8 touchdowns on the Broncos. They are going to run the damn ball, and I think this is Roschon Johnson's coming out party.
So, and also, you're missing, if you're the Denver defense, you're missing your best, probably defensive tackler in Josie Jewell. So, and he's your leading tackler, by the way. Oh, this just came in too. If you wrap up people's legs, it is hard for them to run.
Oh,
that just came through.
Wow.
No shoulder tackles.
I'm glad the science, the results from the test finally came through. It took a while.
we just got that in.
Breaking news, everybody.
Breaking news. All right, NFC South matchup here between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams, by the way, both of those, Denver, Chicago, 0-3. So something's got to give on that side as well. Again, could have been a tie somehow, which I wouldn't be surprised if it did. So there you go. All right, New Orleans are a 3.5-point favorite at home, as you have Derek Carr going up against Baker Mayfield. Derek Carr on the season, 636 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Baker having a very good season, 636 yards, passing, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Mike Evans, 3 touchdowns so far through the air. On the injury report for – that would be my alarm going off for some crazy reason.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, I don't know why it's set for 9 o'clock. But anyway, On the defensive side for Tampa Bay, that is all of their injury. Cornerback, defensive tackle, linebacker, and 2 other cornerbacks, as Carlton Davis is questionable. Jamel Dean is out. Devin White is questionable. Vita Vea is questionable. And Derek Pitts, the other cornerback, is out. All that came down through the wire 2 days ago. And on the New Orleans Saints side, Foster Monroe, the tight end, is questionable. And the rest of theirs is pretty much cornerbacks as well, as Paulson Adebo is out. Jordan Howden, their safety, is out. Cesar Ruiz, their center, is out. And Derek Carr, by the way, is questionable, as that came through the wire today.
Derek Carr is playing.
Is he playing?
Yep, okay. I got that update already.
There you go. Yeah, see, I'm getting alarms for some reason. You're getting updates. So I must be in a different time zone than you.
I don't know. Maybe it said, "Oh, you were in a big city in San Francisco, California, and Los Angeles these last weekends." We'll give you the updates first.
There you go. I'm going to go with Tampa on the road. By the way,
are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm New Orleans on this game. You mentioned Mike Evans. Mike Evans gets shut down by New Orleans, and I will go with the history there because it's been a long history of Mike Evans playing terribly. And Chris Godwin, I think, will have a game, but this is where Baker Mayfield kind of shows some cracks. These 2 teams in the same division, they always play tough against each other. And New Orleans has Alvin Kamara coming back today. It's his first game back after his suspension for the Vegas Pro Bowl. I see New Orleans having a heck of a day, and Chris Olave probably going off because with Kamara back, he's got fresh legs, and I don't know if this Tampa D is going to be able to hold up against them. As much as I like I said, I've been a Baker fan since he became a pro. I don't know if it's going to last. I don't think it's going to last.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if the steam runs out for the Baker Mayfield train. It is interesting to see him doing so well not in a Cleveland. I mean, he didn't do really well in Cleveland, but maybe just a fresh set of new teammates, new scenery, nicer weather in Tampa than it is in Cleveland.
Ain't no doubt. I mean, it saved Brady's career. Not saved Brady's career. Rejuvenated Brady in his last years.
Yeah, so we will see. We split hairs on that one. An NFC East matchup as the 2-1 Commanders face off against the 3-0 Eagles. We saw the Eagles get the win on, was it Monday night?
Yes.
Not too much on the injury report for either team. Chris Rodriguez, the running back for Washington, is out. Besides that, just Percy Butler, one of their safeties, is questionable. Quez Watkins, a wide receiver for Philadelphia, is out. And besides that, 2 safeties are questionable and out. Philly's an 8.5-point favorite at home. No reason to go against them in this one, Colin. I'm going to go with the Eagles at home.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Go with the Eagles. Go with DeAndre Swift. Go with Jalen Hurts. Go with their wide receivers. Goddard, who knows, he got some passes last week, but this is probably Devontae Smith's game since last week was AJ Brown's game. Yeah, it's the same thing as I can't pick for the Broncos. I'm just not picking against the Eagles. I'll pick against the Broncos and I'll pick for the Eagles basically all season until they show me differently, and it's probably got to be more than 1 week.
Right. So that's it's probably the most easy and most agreeable we've done so far this morning. Colin, you mentioned the aforementioned Cincinnati Bengals a little bit ago. They are heading into Tennessee. I almost said Tennessee. 10F, that doesn't make any sense. But both of these teams are 1-2. Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite on the road. We mentioned the struggles of Joe Burrow so far. I don't know if he's still hurt, then he's leading on. As remember, at the beginning of the season, he was at a shoulder he was nursing or something like that. So
calf.
Either way, he can't throw with his shoulder at the moment. They did get a bounce back win last week, so we will see what happens here. Irv Smith Jr., obviously, their tight end is out. And besides that, no real names on offense. On the other side, Tennessee, nobody on offense is on their injured list, so everybody should be good to go for the Tennessee Titans. I brought up DeAndre Hopkins a little bit earlier, and you said this is going to be a ground and pound game for Tennessee. Give the ball to Derrick Henry. And so There you go. I don't know. Cincinnati's offense is just not clicking right now. When you have Jamar Chase, when you have guys like that, Joe Mixon in the backfield only has 1 touchdown through the first couple games. As we mentioned, Joe Burrow only 2 touchdowns, 2 picks through the first couple of games. Ryan Tannehill doing Ryan Tannehill things, has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati on the road. They are a 2.5-point favorite, like we mentioned. I just think they're a slightly better team, I guess, than Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and so Tennessee's defense is great against the run, but terrible against the pass. So this is kind of one of those get right games, I think, for Burrow. Maybe he's not fully healthy, but sometimes you just need one of those games against, you need to play your Division I AA opponent and get yourself back. And that's what this Tennessee secondary is. It's their Division I AA opponent for the Bengals. And T. Higgins hopefully can hold on to the ball. I mean, what was he targeted like 9 times last week and caught 3 passes?
Crazy.
That was ugly. Yeah, so it's going to be opposite. I think it's going to be opposite as far as what these teams' philosophies are going in. Like I said, Tennessee is going to try and pound the ball because that's where the defense for the Bengals is kind of the most suspect, is against the rush. But for the Bengals, they are going to throw the ball, so I don't expect Joe Mixon to have a big day besides maybe some catches. But the wide receivers, whether it be Boyd, Higgins, or Chase, they all should have good opportunities as long as Burrow doesn't make stupid decisions. That's really what I think it comes down to in this game. So yeah, give me Cincy all day.
There you go. All right, AFC West matchup as the 1-2 Raiders go into the 1-2 Chargers. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way, is out. He's still in concussion protocol. So keep that in mind, as I don't know too many people have Jimmy Garoppolo on their fantasy teams, but besides him, nobody on offense is on their injury report. On the Los Angeles Chargers side, everyone is on defense on their injury report. So you have obviously Devontae Adams, and I don't know how much he's going to have. Who's their backup, by the way?
It's been Aiden O'Connell has been named their starter over Brian Hoyer.
I knew Brian Hoyer, but I think there was somebody in front of him. I almost said Jarrett Stidham, but no longer there.
Yeah. It's Aiden O'Connell getting his NFL first start.
Again, zero reaction, zero research, all reaction here for me. So, yeah, I mean, you have a pretty good wide receiver battle. Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, stuff like that. Josh Jacobs has yet to find the end zone in his holdout return for the Raiders. I was going to bring up Garoppolo's stats, but it doesn't really matter because he's not playing. But it is a Jimmy Garoppolo season so far. More interceptions than he does. 6 interceptions through 3 games. Pretty terrible. On the flip side, Justin Herbert, almost 1,000 yards already on the season. I think I read that he is the closest to 1,000 yards. He's at 939 so far. 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, Colin.
It's hard to believe that team was 0-2 going into last week. Yeah, Herbert is a stud. Just a quick note. You mentioned Josh Jacobs. Watch out for Josh Jacobs in this game. So last year when Josh Jacobs was the number 1 running back in fantasy, he started off the season kind of slow, very similar. And this is the week where he started to pick it up. So don't be surprised if Josh Jacobs finds the end zone once or twice, because Josh McDaniels is a very smart offensive mind. He might be an idiot and a D-bag, but he is a very smart offensive mind. So expect him to know to go to Josh Jacobs, especially when you got Aiden O'Connell starting, as your starting quarterback. Devontae Adams will have a few passes thrown his way. But the offense for the Chargers, I think, just rolls with or without Eckler. I think Eckler should probably take another week off, just because I think that the Chargers win this game, regardless of Eckler being in. The offense is just clicking. I mean, Keenan Allen can throw touchdowns. So
yeah, I was going to say this is the first time I've seen the Chargers injury report without Eckler actually on it. whether he's doubtful, questionable, out. It's the first time.
Oh, okay. He's not even on
Not
it.
even on it.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And by the way,
he might play a half. He might not even need to play more than.
By the way, Chargers 6.5-point favorite at home. I'm assuming we're both going with the Chargers at home.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Moving on to another game. We kind of touched on it when we talked about Dak Prescott and fantasy. The Patriots head into the 2-1 Dallas Cowboys. Patriots, by the way, are 1-2. Dallas is a 6-point favorite at home. As we kind of look deeper into this one, injury report for the Patriots. Everyone is on the defensive side. So if you have Patriots defense, I don't know how much you want to look into that. Mostly everybody on the Dallas Cowboys injury report is on the offensive line. Tyron Smith is out, and some of their other guards, Zach Martin, is questionable. That came down today. He's one of their bigger names on the offensive line, so keep that in mind as well. Hendershot, one of their tight ends, is questionable, so keep that in mind as well if you're going that route. Dak Prescott on the season, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Mac Jones, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions throughout the first couple of games. Tony Pollard, it seems like he's been rushing for over like 1,000 yards already this season, but he's only at 264 and 2 touchdowns. He does catch a lot of balls on the backfield, by the way, so he is a Swiss Army knife for that Dallas Cowboys offense. I'm going to go with Dallas at home on this one.
I'm going Dallas at home also, and just heads up, it did come down that Ezekiel Elliott is expected to get starter reps for the Patriots today. So watch.
He's gonna have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, so watch that. You talked about the revenge game with Adam Thielen. Zeke, I've actually taken Ramondre Stevenson out of a lot of fantasy lineups, but watch Zeke. Zeke could have a very big role today in that offense, and I expect it's kind of a Belichick thing to do, is give your guy a chance against your old team.
As long as he doesn't take a direct snap with 0 offensive line,
he
should be okay.
Or try to be the blocker, the only offensive lineman.
Yeah,
no, either one of those two are bad ideas.
Yeah, he
McCarthy.
Should. There you go. All right, an NFC West matchup as the 1-2 Cardinals head into the undefeated 3-0 San Francisco 49ers. This is one of the biggest point differentials as far as favorites in this one. The 49ers are undoubtedly a 14-point favorite at home in this one. Kyler Murray, that came down, I think, yesterday that he is still out. He's on the PUP list, so he's going to miss a few more weeks as he is not cleared to return. Everyone else, Hollywood Brown was listed as questionable this morning. He caught a touchdown last week for the Arizona Cardinals, so keep that in mind. Besides Kyler Murray, Hollywood Brown is the only one on the injury report for the Arizona Cardinals. On the 49ers side of things, Juwan Jennings is doubtful to play in this game, and Elijah Mitchell, the running back, is questionable for this one. That one came down this morning. And Debo is questionable for this game as well. For as much as Debo does for that offense, I don't know how he doesn't miss more games, because he's a running back, he's a wide receiver. Sometimes he throws the ball. So there you go. This one's an easy one. Maybe the easiest of the morning. Collins 49ers roll at home. For me,
yeah.
Arizona could make it close because we picked them against them last week. Or I did.
I don't think they make it close. Last week it was Arizona playing tough against a Cowboys team who has a history of the letdowns in games against softer opponents, which the Cardinals are not a soft opponent. They play tough in all the games. But being in division and being Kyle Shanahan, Debo or not, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is going to run the hell out of the ball, and he'll have a big day if it's not since there's no Debo. But even if it's not Elijah Mitchell, 2 weeks ago we saw Christian McCaffrey take 100% of the snaps. So it's not like he hasn't done this before. But this should be. Yeah, I'm glad that I've saved San Francisco until this week, because the pick'ems for this week were kind of tough in the survivor pools. But I've got San Francisco in 2 different ones this week winning this game.
All right, another AFC matchup as the 2-1 Kansas City Chiefs go into the New York Football Jets. KC, the second highest point differential this week, as they are an 8-point favorite on the road. This one, I'm assuming, will be a pretty easy pick. Don't know if you saw the frustration boiling over on the sidelines last week for the Jets. A lot of people getting mad at Zach Wilson until he showed them a picture of his mom, and they all felt a little bit better. So everyone kind of calmed down. Zach Wilson obviously stepping in for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if you saw the Colin Kaepernick memes so far, because he wrote like a 3-page letter to the New York Jets, not even to be like a backup or a starter, but to be their practice squad quarterback.
Okay.
He wrote like a 3-page letter. Rapper J. Cole released it. I don't know why that's a connection, but it is. And so he wrote a 3-page letter, and I don't, you know, that song "Stand" by Eminem. There's a lot of memes now, and it says, "Dear New York Jets, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling." So we're still waiting for that. Zach Wilson, 4 interceptions through what, 2.5 games or something like that.
Yeah, 2.5.
Obviously, Patty Mahomes doing his thing. Again, I don't even need to go through the stats. Chiefs on the road in this one.
Yeah, Chiefs. I don't know how the Jets ended up beating the Bills in that Week 1 game.
At least the spirit of Aaron Rodgers was still with them, I think.
There was something there because they did. I know this defense is great for the Jets, but I just there he is. He
didn't like that comment.
Oh man, did I just take some ayahuasca or something? I'm seeing stuff. I don't know how the Jets are not taking these offers. One other thing, did you see that?
They signed Trevor Siemian, by the way.
Oh yeah. Siemian could be the starter next week against the Broncos.
Hey, he's been the best quarterback for the
2
Broncos.
weeks.
Yeah, he's been the best quarterback for the Broncos since Peyton Manning retired. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you see that Zach Wilson said he bought ice cream for all the Jets players, and then one of the Jets guys was like, "Wait, I didn't get any ice cream."
There you go. He's trying.
Oh yeah, I just, oh man, I don't know why. I thought it was an interesting pick by the Jets out of BYU for him, but I don't know. I don't think. I mean, he doesn't have it. I just don't think he has it.
I mean, yeah. Besides Aaron Rodgers out, nobody of interest is on the injury report for either of these teams. So you should be good fantasy wise if you have anybody on either of these teams. But there you go. I don't know.
Well, you got Zach Wilson throwing the ball, so who knows?
Well, you're not going to have maybe you have Wilson, the wide receiver, on some fantasy teams, but maybe not, because he might not get the ball as much.
Yeah. Well, and it's just it sucks because this was one of those games I was so excited about to start the season. Rodgers, Mahomes, Wilson, and Kelsey, and Breece Hall, Isaiah Pacheco. And now it's just kind of, is this even going to be worth watching?
Right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Jets defense is still very good, though. So maybe you look that way if you need a defense or something like that. But Kansas City on the road. We saw Thursday night football. Yeah, we saw the Thursday night football game. The Lions take care of the Packers. Lions on the up and come up, I guess.
Yep.
One more game to get to, and that's the Monday night edition. The 2-1 Seattle Seahawks will go into the New York Football Giants, who are 1-2. Seattle is again 2-1. Geno Smith's slow start to the season has since picked things up. How about this? Second in the league in passing call, and at 736 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Daniel Jones doing Daniel Jones things, more interceptions than he does touchdowns. Saquon Barkley maybe was like, maybe I shouldn't have taken that 1-year deal and just sat out because we're not going anywhere. Only 1 paid or touchdown so far this season. Walker, the running back for Seattle, has found the end zone 4 times. DK Metcalf, I hope he gets going a little bit more. I know he was, I don't want to say slowed down by injury last week, but he was on their injury report last week. He's only found the end zone once. I have him in fantasy. Darren Waller is the leading receiver for the Giants, has yet to find the end zone. Most of the injury report for Seattle is on defense, 1 on their offensive line. Draymond Jones, our old pal, is questionable for this one. On the other side, Saquon Barkley, we just touched on him. He's doubtful today. So keep that in mind while you're piecing together fantasy lineups. Seattle on the road for me, Colin.
Oh, I don't like this game at all. I've stayed away from it in all my picks. I'm going with the Giants at home. And you mentioned that most of the injuries for Seattle are on the defensive side. I think Seattle's kind of a paper tiger. With what they did last year, it was kind of, not that they didn't deserve it, but they were also kind of in that area of the Vikings and how they won some of their games. So I got to go with the Giants. Putting it back together, I don't trust Seattle or their defense, and going into the bright lights of Monday Night Football. I know Geno had a good game last year in prime time. I just don't think it happens again, especially in New York. Geno was a Jet. He was never a Giant, right?
Jet,
yeah. Okay. I was like, this is not a revenge game. Give me the Giants.
Maybe it is anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, it's the same stadium.
In New York. Screw all of them.
Yeah. I'm going off the Giants being at home and kind of hoping that Daniel Jones puts it together. We did see the Giants get back Wan'Dale Robinson last week. He got 11 snaps and like 5 targets on those 11 snaps. He's an exciting young wide receiver.
So there you go. Seattle on the road. So that does it for our pick'em series. By the way, Falcons did get on the board this morning in the Toy Story game as they trailed the Jacksonville Jaguars here 17-7.
Jaguars had a pick 6.
Yeah, it was a 61-yard pick 6. By the way, Drake London caught a 15-yard pass from Desmond Ridder just moments ago.
Oh my goodness, London! What is going on?
That is.
I can't believe Desmond Ridder actually completed a pass. I don't know what's a bigger story.
By the way, if you forgot what Zach Wilson's mom looks like, there you go. Healthy picture, right?
Hi, Mom.
There you go. So
that's
why the Jets teammates are putting up with him.
I used to have a T-shirt. I can't remember what the skateboard company was, but it says "I love your mom." I worked at church camp as a kid.
There you go.
I got in trouble, but whatever.
Screw it.
Yeah. I think it might have been like World Industries or something, but it was one of my favorite. I think it probably got secretly thrown out when I put it in the wash at some point as a young adult.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. All right, today is 162, the game 162 in Major League Baseball, Colin, which means it's the end of, well, mercifully here in Denver, it is mercifully the end of the baseball season. By the way, I ordered a Rocky shirt, and it's purple, and it says sell. So I did order that.
I bought a green Cell shirt when I was in Oakland.
Funny.
As part of that, yeah, that's I'm glad that they have those for the Rockies. By the way, bad job on you Rockies yesterday, man. They were out of all the non-alcoholic beers in the stadium, and I couldn't even get an Elvis milkshake because they were out of those too.
Well,
it took me 4 innings walking around trying to find something that I wanted, and then luckily, the usher was really nice. She's like, "Can I do anything?" I'm like, "No, it's all right. It's just a crappy birthday present that I don't get to enjoy a non-alcoholic beer or a shake at this game. It really sucks."
Right. I read this is only, by the way, the 5th time in the last 20 years that the playoff picture is set before the final game of the season. So if that means anything to you, as we look at the playoff picture, Colin, the Arizona Diamondbacks snuck in as the third wild card team. The Miami Marlins, Colin, they're in. How about that?
They got it.
They got in.
It should be exciting with them.
Philadelphia will play Miami in the first wild card matchup, and then the Milwaukee Brewers will take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 3-6 matchup in the wild card round. The Los Angeles Dodgers await the winner of that Milwaukee-Arizona matchup, and the Atlanta Braves await the matchup between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Miami Marlins matchup. Colin, who do you got in these first 2 these wild card rounds?
You got it. I mean, Milwaukee and Miami. Arizona backed their way into the playoffs. Basically.
I know they lost yesterday to Houston. Houston clinched their 7th straight playoff appearance last night, but then moments later, after Arizona lost to Houston, they got in. So that was pretty nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
they all jumped in the pool.
Milwaukee. Yeah, they all jumped in the pool. And then I have Atlanta coming out of the National League.
I know.
Chalky.
I mean, in the NLCS, are we just assuming it's Atlanta, LA?
Yeah, I don't.
Assumption?
I think it's neither of those other teams, Philly, Milwaukee, Arizona, or Miami, is really hot enough to beat either of those other two teams. So,
speaking of Milwaukee,
is anything possible? Yeah, go ahead.
Ask Kevin Garnett. Speaking of Milwaukee, we had a CC Sabathia sighting at the CU game. By the way, how are all these people tied? Are they just friends of Dion? Is that what we're assuming? Because CC Sabathia was there. I know LeBron and his kid were there, obviously, because Bronny is attending USC next year. So I guess that connection makes sense. But Snoop Dogg was there. Terrell Owens was there. Obviously, Undisputed was there on Friday. So I guess that makes sense. On the American League side of things, by the way, Colin, 6-3 matchup in the wild card round. Houston snuck in, by the way. They were the 6th seed against Minnesota. Minnesota ran away with the AL Central. Why not when you have the White Sox in that division? And then the 5-4 matchup, Toronto, Colin. Toronto and Baltimore, by the way, cool stories.
Yeah.
As they take on Tampa in that 5-4 matchup. Texas Rangers await the winner of the Houston-Minnesota series, and Baltimore awaits the winner of the Tampa and Toronto series. And good for Tampa and Baltimore to win. Well, Baltimore won that division, but good for both of those teams getting in and leaving behind the Red Sox and the Yankees. Yankees and Padres, by the way, number 1 and 2 in payroll this year. Neither of them came close to sniffing the playoffs, so
yep,
good on them. Who do you got in these first 2 rounds in the American League?
I mean, I love. It's hard to go against Houston as much as I want to, even though the Twins did run away the Central. As you took your shot at the White Sox, don't think that went unnoticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Central was easy, but you can't really go against Houston. And then I
was hoping for Seattle to sneak in somehow, but they fell short.
Yeah, I mean, I love Toronto. I mean, it's tough to choose against that team.
Yeah, and you know some ties to Colorado a little bit, as Bo Bichette is on that team, but I mean I'm kind of cheering for Baltimore. I like Toronto. Maybe this is the year that Tampa Bay somehow sneaks through. I'd rather see Minnesota beat Houston, but I'm sick of Houston. On the National League side, I'm obviously sick of the Dodgers. So somehow they get, and I'm almost getting sick of Atlanta. Although they are probably by far the best team in the entire sport right now.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I was gonna say, go to a game down in Atlanta. It's a pretty good. It's a pretty great experience at their stadium.
But I mean,
yeah, I just. It sucks that all these AL East teams have to play it. They're playing together in the same division. But yeah, I want Toronto, and I think Toronto and Texas face off in the West with. Give me Toronto in the series. They're going to make it to the ship. They're going to lose to the Braves.
That would be awesome. And I hope somehow the Marlins I hope this is my hope, and I know it's probably not even going to come close to happening, but I hope it's somehow either Milwaukee or Miami facing off against either Toronto or Tampa Bay in the championship. That would be awesome.
I would love it. I would love that.
I was going to say Miami, like fully Miami, screw Milwaukee, but Miami already has 2 championships. So
yeah, they do. A
lot of people forgot about those teams, but
you had Smoking Joe McKinnon as their coach, and the blockbuster billionaire just getting all the players in to win one championship, then dismantle it.
Yeah, they did that twice.
Yeah,
so
I'd love it if the Rockies would do that.
Yeah, I would.
Give me one. Give me one, Rockies.
If I was the owner of the Rockies, I would have traded for Shohei. I would have signed all these guys to 1-year deals, and then If they win a championship and they get rid of all of them, cool. That's fine.
Give me one.
Yeah, just one.
At least show you're willing to do it. That's all I care about.
Is that so much to ask? So you're going with Atlanta to win it all, huh?
Yeah, it's hard to pick against them.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'd love to see the Blue Jays make it there. If I'm on it, like that'd be my pick. But I honestly feel like the Rangers are going to be the team that will face off against Atlanta in the World Series.
I mean, I hope it's either I hope Tampa or I know Tampa's made it to a World Series, but they're right there every year, and maybe this they'll sneak by. I don't know. Baltimore is pretty fierce too this season. I don't want to say they came out of nowhere, but as this has been building for a couple years now, and remember calling not too long ago they were at 100 losses. So
yeah,
and here they are with 100 wins.
Well, and funny fact about it, to go back to Atlanta, Spencer Strider now holds the record for most strikeouts in a season by a Braves pitcher. Talk about a history of pitching. He's
how many is he at?
2.6. I can't remember what he said. It's like 2 something. It's got to be more than 2 something.
That's crazy. Think of all the great pitchers that Atlanta's had by themselves over the years.
Yeah, that's. It's Strider 281.
Dang, so give him a couple more starts and he possibly could have got over 300.
I mean, yeah, 2 starts and he probably would have had it.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, all right, you have the Atlanta Braves coming out in that one. So, yeah, I mean the playoffs are set again. 5th time in the last 20 years that all the playoff spots have been secured before the final game of the season, which is today, October 1st. Pumpkin spice everything, Colin.
Yeah, sure, okay.
I don't like it. But.
I did have pumpkin frosty from Wendy's. It was pretty good.
They have a new thing at Chick-fil-A too. It's like a caramel pumpkin something shake, which looks pretty good.
Okay. I see. I'm not a big fan, but I will tell you when something's good, it is good.
You know what I had last fall, Colin? This was at Dutch Brothers. Not sure if you're a coffee drinker or not, but
Dutch Brothers coffee.
They had a caramel pumpkin something at Dutch Brothers, and that was really good.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll go check it out.
I haven't been to Dutch Brothers in a few months, so I don't know what they have now. But yeah, I'm a Bucks snob. It is what it is.
See, yeah, I'm not as much coffee, but I will have it when there's some good coffee. I'm much more of a chai tea guy.
The
chai tea with espresso.
The salted caramel something or other at the Bucks. That was really good, and I think that's a seasonal fall drink, and that's really good.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. That is our coffee picks are in, and it's Dutch Brothers versus Bucks. So we'll see who goes far in the head-to-head. I'm not a big Dunkin' person either. So
I'm not a big Dunkin' person. I'm not a big Starbucks. I'd rather go to Kaladi Brothers, honestly, locally here. But
never heard of them. By the way, in northern Colorado, if you're up there, the Human Bean is really good. It's only northern Colorado.
The Human Bean.
It's really good.
That sounds like it's some sort of laboratory where they do experiments.
It is good.
I guess they experiment with coffee.
When they give you your coffee, they give you like a little coffee bean on top of your cup, and it's a piece of candy. It's not an actual coffee bean, but when you bite into it, it tastes like coffee. It's but it's good. You should try it out. If you're ever, I don't know what the cutoff is for NoCo, but it might be like Greeley or something. I think that's the furthest south that the Human Bean goes. I don't know if it's Longmont, but if you're up there.
Yeah, when I make a trip up north, I'll do it.
See, I'm up there every Friday for high school football games. So
there you go.
All right. That's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse. This has been episode 14. Again, the title, Pumpkin Spice Everything. As thank you again, Colin, for filling in this morning.
My pleasure, man. It's fun. Always fun.
Always fun. There you go. Don't forget to like and follow everything on social media. And don't forget to give Undrafted Uncensored with Colin and the boys a follow on all of the socials, as well as they post a couple of pods up with us every week as well. Go to Facebook, like us, at Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle, Instagram at Elevation 5280 Radio. You can give me a follow or Colin a follow if you're so inclined. I'm at Sports Junkie 25. Colin's at his name.
Pretty easy to remember, at Collins Anchor. Follow us on X, gonna give it to you, at 5280 Sports Radio, at Michael Spillane, at Collins Anchor, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. It's the same as the X, Twitter, at 5280 Sports Radio. By the way, this last comment, by the way, from Kenny on our YouTube channel that says Cam Ward is the best QB in the nation, by the way.
Yeah,
Response
okay.
to that call. There you go. That's
crickets.
yeah.
I hope that he's not. Yeah, Hopefully the Broncos. Yeah, we can talk about the Broncos drafting a quarterback another time. By the way, I am a Broncos fan, even though I pick them to lose. I am a Broncos fan. I want the Broncos to win. I just don't think they can.
Or do we? For the draft pick.
No, I mean, you gotta get ahead of Chicago somehow.
Yeah,
You ain't gonna do it in crime rate.
Something's got to give here as both 0-3 teams. But enjoy the games today. Hope you enjoyed the college football day yesterday as well. That's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Go to e5280sports.com for all of our past podcast shows, videos. Everything is on the audio and video vault as well. So go to there to check everything out. But that's going to do it for us. For Collins Anchor, I am Michael Spillane. We will talk to you next week.
See ya.